Hey friends, and welcome back to another episode of Actually I Can. I am your host, Katie Ripp, and today I am flying solo for an episode that feels incredibly fitting as we approach the end of 2024. Today I am diving deep into the power of my own reflection by sharing my own year, the good, the hard, and really everything in between. So grab a cup of coffee, tea, or whatever makes you feel cozy and settle in, because this one is quite personal. I hope my story not only inspires you to reflect on your year, but also helps you see just how transformative it can be to acknowledge your wins and learn from your challenges from an entire year. Hey there, fellow rebels. Welcome to Actually I Can, the podcast where we say a hearty hell yes to designing life on our own terms. I'm Katie Ripp, a lifestyle coach, business mentor, and serial entrepreneur, here to guide you through the wild ride of defying what society expects of us and embracing our authenticity. On this show, we dive deep into taboo topics like death, money, spirituality, entrepreneurship, unapologetic self-care, and personal development, all while swearing and laughing along the way. Expect down and dirty conversations, plenty of humor, and a whole lot of exploration, leaving you feeling empowered to be your truest self. Whether you're craving a good laugh, seeking unconventional self-care tips, or simply looking for some camaraderie, you've come to the right place. We only get this one short life, so buckle up and let's design yours on our own terms. Ready to dive in? Let's go! So let's start with the year's theme, which very often every year for me is resilience for some reason, but this year was especially reflective. If you've been following along on my journey, you know that it kicked off with a bang, or more accurately, a surgery. So in January, I had Achilles surgery, not just any Achilles surgery. This was the kind of procedure where they sever 50% of my tendon, remove a heel spur, and fixed a bunion while they were at it. So really 3 surgeries in one. It was quite an experience. Recovery was quite brutal. It was months actually longer than I expected, but apparently exactly what the doctors told me. They did tell me it was going to take 6 to 9 months to really be able to walk or run or anything. And I was like, oh, by April, I'll be totally fine. Not so much. So for me, of course, the hardest part was not like necessarily the physical pain, although I will say that I did take some oxycodone. I tried not to, but the second night, actually, after my spinal block wore off, I did hit up the oxycodone. Nope, sorry. I think it was Oxycontin. Let me tell you, that shit is no joke. Not so much like the actual drug itself, it was the withdrawals. So I only took like 2 days of pills, got off of it, and my stomach hurt and I felt like shit for like 5 days afterwards. So certainly took my pain away, but I don't know that I'll ever do it again. It was pretty awful. I can see why there's such a problem with it, because it was not a great experience for me to come off of that. So the rest of the time I did just spend really on Tylenol and Advil, and that seemed to combat the pain fine. Again, it wasn't necessarily the physical pain. It was the 3 weeks completely off my foot. So I had a little scooter, which by the way, I fell down. I tripped over like 6 times. Once in the parking lot when I was going to get my nails done, my pants got caught in the front wheel and I went ass over tea kettle right on my face. So I'm lucky I didn't break both my wrists. And then later I was going into my child's middle school and I was on my scooter again wearing the same fucking pants. Like maybe I should have learned my lesson the first time. And my pants got caught in the wheel again, and I went ass over tea kettle in front of my poor friend Terrell, who I thought was going to have a heart attack. She was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I was laughing. It was no big deal, but I threw those pants away. So, of course, I am someone who likes to stay busy and productive. So being forced to slow down and really just lay on my couch really did feel like an emotional marathon. It taught me some patience, which was great. I also wrote a book in that time. So I decided that that would be the time that I would write a workbook, which I did. And I self-published on Amazon. So that was kind of exciting. Let's see. After I got to a point where I was up and around, still limping a little bit, but I got the cast off. I got the boot off. I did walk around in a boot for quite some time, but right before I left for my Kesso 3 cruise, and if you listened to last week's episode, Kesso 3 is my brother and sister and I, my sister Steph, my brother Corey. Our maiden name is Kesnick. So our parents' license plates used to be Kesso 1, Kesso 2, and Kesso 3. So now our name for the three of us is Kesso 3. So we take a Kesso 3 trip after we've repaired our relationships over the last couple of years. We take a trip every year. And last year we went on another cruise. And 2 days before we left for our cruise, I was power washing the patio at Crossroads and was walking backwards, tripped over a ceramic pot. And I was so terrified that I was going to break my foot again. I flailed the other way and broke my wrist instead. So it's been quite a physical year for me too. We're still going to get into some other physical stuff. So here we go. But there were some bittersweet moments for sure. This summer also marked the first crew of baristas that I hired. My first hire was 4 years ago. We've owned Crossroads Coffee House for 4 years, January 1st. And we said goodbye or so long or farewell or see you later to a couple of our first hires that went off to college. So it was quite bittersweet. They headed off to college, and these kids, I can't even really call them kids anymore, of course, because they can vote. But they really did teach me so much about leadership and connection, and watching them grow and getting a front row seat to these kids' lives is every year one of the most bittersweet moments. It is one of the privileges of being in an ownership or leadership position is having a front row seat to these kids' lives and watching as they navigate heartache and loss. A few of them lost friends to a drunk driving accident. Not the kids drunk driving, they got hit by a drunk driver. Breakups and makeups and friend issues and grandparents and parent sicknesses and that kind of thing. And really, it is such a privilege to watch it. And I feel very honored to be a part of that. And it was so interesting this year to watch our 14-year-old, not ours, but the first 14-year-old turn into a freshman in college. So it was something really very bittersweet. And now that the holidays are here, they're kind of back in our fold. And we were so excited to see them. And also, how freaking fast did that go? So definitely watching them grow and move on is such a proud and emotional experience. I may have cried into a latte or two. Life also wasn't all goodbyes this year. We also said hello to some new family members. We adopted 2 alpacas. So we already have 2, Richard and Wayne. Prince Richard and Little Wayne were their full names. We found 2 additional male alpacas. They are pack animals, so they need a pack. So we needed to bring 2 more home. We happened to rescue these from a testing facility. So not a bad one. They just came from a grant that had run out, and they were testing for antibodies and trying to get, I don't exactly know. I'm not a freaking scientist. I don't know what they were doing, but they came to us and they're lovely. Their names are Ralph and Sam. So they joined our crew along with 3 goats, and Pancake, Billy, and Todd are our goats. If you follow along on Instagram, you'll see them. They are very often in my stories. So our home is now a full-on farm. We've got 3 dogs, 3 goats, 4 alpacas, and way too many farm cats. So Ralph is our kind of goofy guy. He's got a Beatles haircut. He's got this big fuzzy nose, and he looks like Ralph the dog. And Todd, our goat, is just a big galoot, and Pancake likes to ram me. But I think it's an action of endearment. That's what I keep telling myself. But she does like to get up on her hind legs and ram my hips. So, and Billy, Billy's just great. So, and then of course, even there were some curveballs this year. We had a flood hit our ice cream shop, and the day before our roof was supposed to get replaced, we had 2 insurance claims. So here, the story goes, we had an insurance claim from a July storm that came through and ripped about a quarter of our roof off of our commercial building. It flipped up and came back down, no damage, but we waited. We had to get on a waiting list for the roofing guys. Roofing guys were planning on coming Tuesday. On the Monday before, this was in August, on the Monday night before, we got 5 inches of rain, and it was blowing crazy hard and it blew the roof off, the whole corner off, and rained into the Creekside Scoop, our ice cream shop, for like 3 hours. So I walked in that morning and I was walking through about an inch of water. We didn't realize it was the roof at first. We thought maybe the ice machine had leaked or somebody had dropped some ice or like a lot of ice. But as I started walking through, it was raining from the light fixtures. And so we realized we had a real problem. So that was not a cheap fix. Who knew that a commercial roof is $80,000? I will pause for effect. So in any case, the ice cream shop was closed for August, September, October, November. We just got it done. Now it's December. It's going to be closed until March anyway, but we are excited to breathe a whole new life back into the Creekside Scoop. So that was kind of a big deal. Also, one of the hardest decisions this year was selling our lake house. I agonized over it for quite some time. And if you're interested in that story, you can go back into my Instagram posts or onto my website. But we sold our lake house after 2 years. We ended up getting quite a bit more than we were expecting, which is amazing. But it was really the right call for our family. That selling of that property allowed us to pay off almost $150,000 worth of debt, a number that still really sort of blows my mind. Not that we paid it, but like that we were in it. But that moment of handing over a check or paying off a chunk of money like that, of course, it was a sacrifice, but I got really down and dirty and really real about my finances this year and my own money mindset. And I finally started paying attention. I finally looked under the covers. I finally had a conversation with my sister, who was super supportive and is extremely smart in the money world, but also just let me figure it out on my own. I needed to figure it out. But I will say since April, I have made a financial 180 degrees simply by looking and not being scared anymore. So it was quite an accomplishment, if I do say so myself. Here's the other thing is I also looked at my credit score, which I thought my credit score was low because we were extended so far. And also like, I didn't know, maybe we missed a payment here or there or whatever. So finally one night, this is kind of a crazy story. One night I decided I was going to look into my credit score. And my intention for 2024, I don't set goals, I just set intentions. And my intention was very simple at the beginning of the year that I was just going to pay attention to my finances. That's it. I was just going to find all the accounts, all the debts, all the assets, all the liabilities, all of the balances, all of the interest rates, all of the everything, life insurance, health insurance, dental insurance, all of it. I was just going to find it. I was going to write it down. I was going to figure it out. And I was just going to put it in front of me and I was just going to pay attention. That included my credit score. So as I'm sitting at home, my family was on vacation at the time. I was sitting at home and I was like, I'm diving into my credit score. This was at 3:00 on a Thursday afternoon. I called Equifax or Experian or somebody. I called some credit reporting agency because my credit score was like 676. And I was like, God dang, we pay all of our bills on time. I just thought it was because we had extended most of our debt. Like your debt to income ratio I thought it was extended that far. Well, it turns out that somebody else's social security number was on my credit report. So as I'm going through my credit report, I see that there are student loans that I'm in default of. I've never gone to college, so I've never had a student loan. Somebody had their car repossessed in Michigan. So my identity wasn't stolen. We had a very similar social security number and our two credit reports got commingled. And as soon as her credit report fell off, my credit score went up to 802. So just paying attention. And it's been like that. So who knows how much interest I've paid? Just thinking that my credit score was bad when really it wasn't. So if you have any fear about looking at your stuff, I totally get it. I will hold your hand if you want. I'll sit on a Zoom with you. I will sit next to you. You can come to my office and we can just like go through every single account that you think you might have. I'm telling you, it saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars. No joke. So that's my money mindset soapbox here, but also check your credit scores. So of course, not everything was totally fixable. We did happen to have to sell one of our commercial properties. The business that we started in 1909 did go out of business this year. And that has a whole lot of lessons and a whole lot of grief and emotions around it. I am navigating through that. It's going to take me years to get through that, I'm guessing. But if I have learned anything, that these kind of lessons come with silver linings down the road. Not always while we're in it, but down the road, these kind of lessons, whether they're expensive or not, come with great, great silver linings. So don't cry for me. Hey there, listeners. It's Katie. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Female Founders Collective. I started this collective because I know firsthand how challenging it can be to build a business from the ground up. As female founders, we're balancing so much, our dreams, our families, our sanity, and it can feel pretty lonely out there. That's why the collective is all about real connection and support. We're a community of women who are sharing what works, what doesn't, and having each other's backs. So if you're looking for a network that truly gets it, come join us at the Female Founders Collective. We meet virtually every single Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time. It's always free. It will never be a charge. This is something that I am really passionate about. Come and join us. You can register by going to katierip.com. Okay, so let's pivot here to some of the professional highlights I've had, because I have had some pretty amazing highlights this year. One of them was, first up, I graduated from coaching school. That alone is pretty much a mic drop moment for me. That program through Mind Rebel Academy stretched me in ways I totally didn't expect. It wasn't really about learning the skills of coaching, although I did get that. It was becoming the kind of person who can hold space for other people. And that is a gift I will never, ever take for granted. Graduation of that coaching school was one of the greatest accomplishments of my life, I would say, partially because I've really never graduated anything. I've started so many schools, so many courses. I love to learn, but to have the kind of commitment to go through 13 months of Zoom calls was next level, which I have to give Mind Rebel Academy, Michelle and Taryn so much credit, because the school itself, the academy, the curriculum, everything we learned was so expansive and so full of growth and just soul that it kept all of us coming back. I've made lifelong friends through that. I have created a coaching business I am super proud of. I feel really grateful and honored that I get to carry on this kind of legacy. That was a huge moment for me. I don't even know that when that moment came. Actually, I do. That moment came for me on graduation day, which happened to be the same day as the Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks concert in Chicago that my sister flew in for. My mom loves Billy Joel, so my sister and I decided to take my mom, and my best friend and her mom, who's like a second mom to me, came with us. And it was such a cool experience for us to all be there. Billy Joel was amazing. Stevie Nicks, unbelievable. The 14-year-olds in front of us that had to look up lyrics to every single song really made Angela and I laugh so hard and feel really old. So it was an experience. And apparently Vienna is a big Billy Joel song right now. One I have certainly heard, but could have cared less as a younger child or younger adult. And Vienna is a big deal now. Even Billy Joel was like, hey, I don't know why you guys like this song, but I'm going to play it anyway. It was great. So that was my graduation day. So it was a really great experience. It was a great time we had lots of laughs. Riding in a rickshaw with my mother, Karen, my sister, and Angela was the highlight of my year. And then, of course, there's this podcast. So I, at the beginning of the year, had a goal of starting a podcast. So starting hashtag Actually I Can was something that I had thought about, mainly because I love to hear myself talk. That's no joke. But also, I just really feel like there's so many stories and messages to share. And it's really cool to have this kind of platform. But hitting publish on that first episode was totally terrifying. Luckily, I hired somebody else to do it for me. And a huge shout out to Chanley Levitt, who is my podcast producer. She lives in Utah. and her business is Paradigm Podcasting. So huge shout out to her. If you're thinking about doing a podcast, please head on over to Paradigm Podcasting. She is a lovely human being. She also was a guest of mine. So I can't remember exactly what number that episode was, but she has a fascinating story about how she left teaching to get into podcasting. So head over onto that episode and take a listen. It's a great story, but this was sort of one of those, hey, maybe I'll do it someday sort of things. I also struggle with consistency. So thank God I have Chanley. I was going to not quit totally, but take a break because I kind of ran out of guests. I kind of ran out of ideas. And instead of letting me do that, she really pushed me. And now we have a really cool lineup for 2025. It's amazing. When we started thinking about the strategy call, I went onto Threads of all places. I had never used Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. I've just never gotten into it. I know some people out there are like, what the fuck? How can you not be on Twitter? I just never have. I don't really get it. I tried to get a tutorial from my brother like 5 years ago, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stick to what I know. So I hadn't gone onto Threads because I thought it was sort of the same thing. And right after Chanley and I had our little 2025 strategy meeting for the podcast for next year, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go on over to Threads and see if I can find any podcast guests. Well, holy shit. I had like 70 people apply. I mean, I think when you say fuck a lot or you put it into posts, people are like, oh yeah, you're my people. And I have already interviewed some amazing guests for 2025 from that post. So if you're a business owner or you're thinking about doing something new, like try a new avenue. I was shocked at how many people I connected with on there. So I haven't really looked at it since. Maybe I'll go back, but it was an interesting place to go that I didn't expect anything from. And then all of a sudden it blew up. And I've already met some amazing people that are on my podcast, but also have joined Female Founders Collective, and we've connected here and there in DMs and that kind of thing. So that part has been really amazing to see too. And I'm looking forward to more of that. My next thing was speaking at the Dream Bank. This was another huge highlight, and it wasn't necessarily a speaking gig. It was a coaching opportunity that came together over a few months. I didn't really know what to expect, but I was a dream camp coach. So I was paired with a small business owner, someone that's already in business, and I was able to coach them over 3 days. And it was the most amazing experience. The Dream Bank by American Family Insurance is fascinating to me. So American Family Insurance has this amazing space. It's a co-working space. You can go down there anytime between Tuesday and Thursday, 9 to 5. They have snacks and coffee. You can just go and work there. Free Wi-Fi, free printers, everything. You can rent their space, a gorgeous space. This is right downtown Madison, Wisconsin. So if you want more information on this, please hit me up. This is fascinating. Their staff is amazing. I'm actually speaking in January there, and we're going to do once a month for the whole year. We're going to do Female Founders Collective in person there. So stay tuned for that, but I'm really excited about that. Oh, and the courses. I bought and mostly finished more than 10 courses this year. I don't have a college degree. I have a certificate in web design that I got 25 years ago. That is my only college education. But I am a lifelong learner. I love to learn new stuff. And so courses are my jam. I love courses. I like to start them. I very rarely finish them, but this is my goal for 2025. I've gotten through 75% of most of them, which is amazing. But I always think to myself, and possibly you're out there, you've either paid off your student loans or you're almost there, or you've never been to college, or you already paid for college or whatever. I consider courses and education for us as we get older like a non-negotiable. It is an investment in yourself. Learning something new is just the way we grow. It's the way we can learn a new angle, even if you know what you're doing in certain things. I mean, I've bought courses that I feel like I have a pretty good handle on things. And then I learn one new thing that changes everything. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so worth it. For all the courses I've taken, and some quite expensive, even my Mind Rebel Academy coaching certification, which was not cheap, and 13 months, even with every single course I've ever had, I probably have paid a 16th of what I would have paid for a college education. I'm not knocking college educations. Don't get me wrong. I just think there's so much information out there that we can be learning from other people that are really, in the big scheme of things, not very expensive. So if you are a learner, if you are somebody that wants to just think about something new, there's a course out there for everything. And guess who's building a course this year? This girl. So personally, I have watched my children grow like weeds. I've got a 15 and a 12-year-old now, and all that comes along with that. However, I have discovered that I have not totally fucked them up. I was real nervous when they were like 7 and 4 that I was going to completely ruin them. But they've turned out to be great kids. We've had some heartbreak, some heartache. We've grown hormonally. We've grown physically. They are both almost towering over me already. It's fascinating to watch them grow. I am so thankful I'm sober for this. One of the greatest things about being sober for me, and this is the smallest piece from the outside looking in, but it encompasses so much, it's that I can drive. It's that I can pick them up whenever they need me. I can drive at 7 o'clock at night and pick Miles up from the gym, which he's going to every single night now for 3 hours. I can pick them up from a sleepover that's gone wrong. I can pick them up when they're sick. I can pick them up when inevitably they get into a situation where they shouldn't be. It is by far one of my biggest accomplishments as far as my sobriety goes. And I just passed 1,200 days, which is very cool. I don't talk about it a lot anymore. I'm kind of away from it, but it has changed my life in so many ways. It was always the thing that I thought was going to change my life, but also the thing that I was so terrified to change. It was the one thing at the top that if and when I changed that, I thought, and it did turn out this way, I thought that everything else would just come into place. And it really has for me. So it's not that shit doesn't hit the fan. It hits the fan all the time. I just deal with it so much better. The way I deal with stress is like, it's not that I don't have stress. I just deal with it so quick that it never becomes chronic. So from a personal side of life, my kiddos have been such a fun, interesting roller coaster ride over the last few years, watching them grow into young adults. I realized the other day, and my sister has said this before, I only have 2 more first days of school with Miles, which is just insane to me. So we've got licenses coming up behind the wheel, college visits, which will be interesting because Dale nor myself ever went to college. So this will be something new for us to learn about and realize that it's probably different than what we think it is. And we've also raised a couple of pretty amazing entrepreneurs. We've got a bracelet maker right now. We've got somebody else who wants to shovel driveways, which I'll let you guys decide who's doing what. But it will be an interesting couple of years. So this by far has been my favorite season of their lives. So you're probably asking why I'm sharing all of this. You know, I love to overshare, but I also love to let people know that people behind microphones, people behind screens, you know, behind reels and Canva posters and businesses and all of these things, we tend to get wrapped up in this huge, big dramatic moments like surgeries and floods and paying off debt. But this kind of reflection is really about the small wins, like the quiet everyday victories that shape who we are as people. And this year especially, I dove headfirst all the way into really exploring and discovering my own values. I have built my life around my value system that is different than my prescribed value system. And as women, we tend to be prescribed certain values that may or may not align with our actual values. And when we are misaligned, we are sick. We are anxious and tired and exhausted and overwhelmed and carry shame and guilt. And we really have a hard time getting through the day or keeping our mouth shut or speaking up for ourselves or things that really manifest in our bodies, in our minds, in our hearts in ways that are destructive and self-sabotaging. And when I figured out that I was not living my life true to my values and aligned with my values, I was aligning my life with somebody else's values. It was eye-opening and changed my life forever. And so 2025 really is about digging into that and really trying to help people find their own values, live aligned with their values in their business and in their personal life. Because as women, the line between our professional lives and our personal lives is blurred, if it exists at all. So we need to be really solid in our own personal values and carry them over into our business values, our professional values. They may be a little bit different, but we need to actually live by those values. And when we do, that's when we find maybe we don't need anxiety medication anymore. Maybe we don't go to the refrigerator every single time we get stressed. Maybe we don't drink that extra bottle of wine at night. Maybe we don't get into fights and communicate poorly with our spouses. These are the things that if we can align and we can live our life unapologetically because we're good people and we are living our life by our values, I'm telling you, your entire life will open up. So here's my challenge to you. Take some time before the end of the year and reflect on your own 2024. Write it down or say it out loud or share it with someone you trust or DM me or send me an email or don't call me because I don't answer my phone. But if you know me and you have my number, text me. Let me know, what are you most proud of this year? Please, let's not take the entire year and not celebrate any of it. Of course, there were moments that you have absolutely something to be proud of. What surprised you about this year? There are surprises. Shit lurks around the corner just waiting to jump out at you. What surprised you? How did you react to something that you were like, oh shit, I'm surprised I reacted that way. 2 years ago, I would have reacted a different way or whatever. It could have been an experience or a situation that you didn't expect that came and maybe you thought it was horrible, but it turned out great. Or maybe you thought it was going to be great and you turned out horrible and you learned a lesson from it. What small win did you have that brought you joy? What brought you joy this year? I say all the time, standing in my alpaca pen with my boys or letting Pancake ram me is joy for me. It's what I love the most. And so I spend my time there. My life right now is really about time and money. All of our lives are. Whether you like it or not, life is about time and money. Time is finite. We don't have all the time in the world. We do have all the time in the world, but our world is going to end. So the way you spend that time is so important to understand because you can always make more money. And I know if you're in a bad financial situation right now, that can seem really hard to understand, but that is abundance. So thinking about abundance and realizing that there is no limit to how much money you can make, but there is a limit to how much time we have. So if I can leave you with anything, go into 2025 thinking about how can you learn more about yourself and where you're spending time that either you can pay somebody else to do if it needs to get done, you can find somebody else to do it, you can find something else to do it, or you can get rid of it altogether to then spend the time aligned with your values. And if family is a value, if connection is a value, if wealth is a value, make sure that the things that you're spending your time doing are aligning with that. So I will talk way more about values as we go through 2025, but this will give you a good start. So again, reflection isn't totally about perfection. I had to go back and actually look through some of my pictures for the year to remember that, oh yeah, I did break my wrist this year. I forgot about that. So it's amazing what we forget about just, 7 months ago. But really, it is about gratitude and being thankful for what we have right now versus what we are always wanting. So thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Sharing your year with me has been so amazing. I hope it inspires you to do the same for yourself. Please reflect if you can. Remember, you don't have to wait for the end of the year to reflect. You can do it anytime. If this episode resonated with you at all, please share it with a friend or someone who might need a little nudge to reflect on their wins too. Sometimes it's easier to tell somebody else to reflect on their wins rather than shout ours from the rooftops. But as always, keep being bold, keep being unapologetic. Please be unstoppable. And until next time, I'm Katie Ripp, and this is #Actually I Can. Happy New Year. And that's a wrap on today's episode. I hope you enjoyed diving deep into the world of living authentically with me. Before you go, don't forget to connect with me on Instagram. Shoot me a message at Katie Rip. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode and connect with you further. And remember, if you want more details on today's episode or just want to explore more about designing your life unapologetically, head on over to my website at katierip.com. There, you'll find all the juicy details and resources you need to keep the inspiration flowing. Lastly, if you'd like to join me on the show, whether it's to tell about your experience of designing your own life, to share your expertise, or if you'd like to participate in lifestyle coaching live on air, don't hesitate to reach out. Your story could inspire countless others on their own path to living authentically. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep living boldly, designing your life, and remember, #actually, I can.